And so, guys, we're back. And so, before get into bringing on the guests tonight online, remember I told you that I have a special guest that's coming on later on in the show. I talked early today. Well, I just got off the phone. That's why I was kind of late in coming on tonight, kind of like 2 minutes over. But the plan is to bring him on as soon as he's available to come on. And you guys are just going to in for a special treat. But I'm not going to say the name yet. I'm just waiting for the person to show up. But I need to lay some groundwork. So basically, everyone knows about what happened last night by now. I'm not going to comment on it that much. Bottom line is that things happen. I am growing. I'm learning how to handle these situations. Statements were made. Things were said that shouldn't have been said. And I felt there was a need to just make a general statement so everybody know where we're at. As for me and my family, and as a head of my household, I have to protect my household. So the bottom line is I did what I had to do where that is concerned, and that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to get into more details. Who needs to know about the incident and whatever took place knows. As you can see, Randy Fine decided not to appear on the show today. So you guys can read whatever you want to read into that. I'm not going to dive into that information right now. It is what it is. And so thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for your support. I had a lot of community support today. A lot of folks reached out to me and said, Kevin, we are with you. And please continue the show. Please keep going. And I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. My family loves it. I love it. I thank you so much for reaching out to me. I mean, tons and tons of messages from all cross sections of Palm Bay reach out via Messenger today and say, Kevin, we love you. We like what you're doing. Just keep it up. And I love that. And I thank you. And I'm getting teared up talking about it because I saw the support. It got really emotional and touching. So that's that. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm having some lighting issues. So, all right. So with that said, let's get into it. Let's bring it on screen. Mr. Thomas and Mr. Ronnie Foster. So tonight, what we're doing, guys, is we're having a conversation. We're just having a conversation. We know the both of them are running for office in November and
November 3rd.
November 3rd, right? And so therefore, this is not he against, we're not doing a debate here. We just have a general conversation. This is a fill-in to talk about what's going on in our community. And you guys are gonna have questions, and I'm gonna put them on the screen, and they all can answer. And so I don't want the questions to be phrased about what you're gonna do for the city and all that good stuff. We're just having a general conversation. So tonight is not the night for the political debate. It's just gonna be a general, two well-respected guys in the community coming together, and we're going to have one additional person that's going to be coming in here in several minutes, hopefully, to join into the conversation as well. And when that happens, then we will bring him on screen. So let's have a conversation, guys. Introduce yourselves, and so everybody can know who you are if they don't know who you are by now. Start with Thomas.
Oh, thank you. My name's Thomas Gom. I ran for city council in the last election, lost to Kenny Johnson. I've lived in Palm Bay for 27 years. Was in the Navy for 12 and a half years. Grew up in a small town in Middlebury, Indiana, where they manufacture RVs and mobile homes. A farming community, a lot of Amish. But the reason, what I see in Palm Bay is we were designed as a bedroom community. We've always been a bedroom community, despite everybody's best efforts to make us something else. And we'll continue to be a bedroom community up until the point where we reach a critical mass or get to the density where it makes sense for businesses to move in. At that point, we'll shift away from being a bedroom community. But in the interim, I'm tired of paying for development. So I'm first and foremost, I'm a resident. I'm a citizen, Palm Bay, have been for a long time. And that's where I come from.
Okay. Randy.
Good evening. My name is Randy Foster. I am a candidate for Palm Bay City Council C3. But just like Tom, I ran for office in 2016 for County Commission District 3. And also in 2018, I got out and Kenny got in that race. A little bit about me. I grew up in New York City. I was born and raised in New York City. I served in the military. I'm one of the few veterans that served in 3 branches of the military: Army, Navy, and but my longest stint was in the Air Force. I was active duty during the Gulf War, operating during freedom. I'm a small business owner. Prior to becoming a small business owner, I was a police officer in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I made it up to the rank of detective. And also I was a U.S. Marshal for 20 some years, a supervisory rank, and served in the Virgin Islands, New Orleans, Texas, D.C., North Carolina, all over. But my last duty station was D.C., and I was so happy to leave D.C. I left the day after I retired, and I came to Florida. I came right here to Palm Bay. I have a good friend that lived here, and I've been coming here throughout my career, my 20-year career. I spent a lot of time in Florida, from Miami to Jacksonville to Tampa to Pensacola, but I would always visit Palm Bay, and that's what brought me here. My day after retirement, I've been living in Palm Bay since. I saw some of the videos. I didn't know the guy now, Mayor Capote. I saw him do a State of the Union, and that interests me to come and live in Palm Bay, not Melbourne, not Cocoa. I had a job in Cocoa with the Department of Juvenile Justice, but I would drive from Palm Bay to Cocoa to go to work, and then I left there and worked with the school system, and then I started my own business in 2016, and I do consulting work. I'm an expert witness, law enforcement expert witness, and I do consulting work with lawyers across the country. So I love Palm Bay. I think this is the city of the future for Brevard County. I think it starts right here. It has so much potential and so much growth, and we got to get it right. And I think we can get it right. We can get it right. And we got good people that live here, and I'm proud to be a resident.
Yeah, me too. I'm proud to live in Palm Bay. I came here in 2009, and I never looked back. I moved out from South Florida. I came here. I established a business with me and my wife, and actually several businesses. At one point, we even took the business up to Titusville, that far, and still lived in Palm Bay at the time. And and we kind of shifted around, but now we're here right here in Palm Bay with our business, and we're doing good. Palm Bay is a lovely community. What I've seen with Palm Bay is that everybody comes together when we need to come together. Many times I'm out on the road, and people, things may happen, and people just chip in, and everybody just pull together, unity. And I'm like, wow. I mean, where I came from, everybody would just pass you by and just, don't look your way. But what I love about this community is the makeup, that everybody just hopping in and doing things together, and especially during this COVID-19 times. One of the things I've seen is people, somebody cry for food, like what happened with Thomas and at his restaurant. He hopped in and helped. And so, those are kind of stories I like to see with a community, and that's the kind of community that I want to grow my family in. My son, I have a son, and that's the kind of community that I want to see him in. So if you guys have comments out there in viewing land, and you want to chip in and stories like that, feel free to drop in the comments. I'll share it on the screen, and we can all contribute that way. So if you have comments that you want to share, please feel free to comment. And it's a conversation. We're just having an open conversation. We can talk about anything, any topics. Nothing is off the table. Yeah, so that's where we at. So let's talk about a little bit about COVID-19 and its impact on the community. What you guys are seeing, as you go through your daily travels, as far as the impact on the community is concerned.
Let me go first.
Anything, go ahead.
Let me share some personal stories. I have two friends. I grew up in New York City, and New York City was impacted it was the epicenter after it left China. It was New York City. Imagine that. And I have family in New York City. I have brothers and sisters in the New York City, New Jersey area. So I'm always concerned about their health. And my brother had a heart attack. So this is not a good environment for him. But I had a high school friend that died from COVID-19 this year. Two of my friends, former co-workers and childhood friends, their wife is in the hospital right as we speak from COVID-19. So luckily, none of my immediate family contract the virus. But so here I know one person that has COVID-19 in this area, and they had to quarantine this person. I don't want to mention the person's name, but they had to quarantine this person. I've been keeping my distance. I've been wearing my mask. I've been following the guidelines of the CDC. But if you look on my, and I'm not trying to get into campaign mode, but if you look on my website, I got a video when I went up to the city council, and I tried to warn them after I came back into the country about what we need to do to prepare city workers for COVID-19. I didn't like that response, okay, that I got from one of the councilmen. Basically told me to go read the website. And I'm telling you, I'm warning the city council, hey, we need to start looking at this. Then we had a council chamber full of people. And I just got off the airplane. Everybody's wearing masks. The U.S. Customs Border was asking me questions, taking my temperature. I'm coming in Orlando Airport, okay? And I'm going through this screening process. And when I arrived in the country that I went to, I started getting nervous because I seen people wearing masks and they asking a bunch of questions, okay? And so we wasn't prepared for COVID-19. We knew it was here. And when I came back, it was growing. We had one case in Brevard County. When I arrived back in the country, March 5th, and it just grew out of that. I'm gonna shut up and let Tom talk, but we got to do better.
And I agree. My major concern with the COVID-19, it isn't as much the virus as the economic impact and the impact on the citizens of Palm Bay. With so many people out of work and a antiquated and inefficient unemployment system in place, people are hurting. People are hurting real bad. And so are our businesses. So the best thing we can do as citizens is to frequent our local businesses. The Ferraras of the world, the locally owned diners, some of the smaller hardware stores and things like that. But it's important that the little bit of money that is being generated in the city by the businesses in the city, we need to do our best to make sure it stays within our own local economy.
I agree totally, Tom, with that statement. I just want to. We have a question. We have a statement from Gary. Been in Palm Bay for 20 years, and I don't plan to ever leave. Love Brevard County. And I came from Washington, D.C. into Palm Bay. I'm not planning to leave either. Gary. I think we need to. I could bet my last dollar, Palm Bay is going to be the city to live in, and I'm going to make sure that, in office or not in office, I think Palm Bay is going to be the city in Florida to be at.
And that really goes right in. The other day on social media, I asked the question, why do you live in Palm Bay, or why did you move to Palm Bay? And what became very apparent was that it's quiet, safe, and people bought here to raise their families and retire. They really don't want the crime and the gridlock of the big cities that some of the candidates are pushing. We need to do economic development and bring all these big businesses in that. Well, as you do that, with that comes the gridlock and the crime and the big city problems rather than the problems we're facing now.
Okay.
All right, and then we have a question from Vista Burns. Let me bring that up. Do you think City Council should report in building for council meetings and workshops? Sure, answer.
Yes, they need to come out of their basements.
Okay.
Well, right. I'm in a indifference in that. Let me tell you why. And I thought about the same way Tom thought about they should report. But if we have a mayor that gets COVID-19, we have 2-3 councilmen get COVID-19, we might not have a city council at all. So, you gotta look at that. If one person contract the virus and they're all sitting on the dais, you're gonna have to quarantine the whole the deputy mayor, the city manager, city attorney, and the city clerk. If one person on that dais has COVID-19, you're gonna have to quarantine all them people sitting on that dais. That's just my.
However, I went to an infrastructure meeting the other night, which is a board of 5, just like the city council, and 3 of us were sitting out on the floor. My point being is that just like when we signed up for the military, we wrote a check up to and including our life. Well, when you sign up for city council, you signed up for the job, and you should be there for the job. And being there means in front of the citizens in the sunshine.
Well,
we have another comment.
Respectfully, with a statement like that, you're saying that they're not doing their job? That's what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you get public comment and things like that, we should be able to go and look our city council members in the eye, not over a video link.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Those are very important questions. Now, folks, we have our special guest. He is here. Our special treat for the night. And are you guys ready for this? Drum roll. Adding him to the stream now.
Hey, it's Jeff.
Like that guy.
I know. Big disappointment, huh?
Right. Yes. Jeff Bailey is here in the house. Say hello, everybody, to Jeff. And I know he is many favorite councilman. And he agreed to pop on tonight and lend to the discussion. So like I said, it's an open discussion. This is not a debate between Thomas and Randy. This is an open discussion. It's a forum. And I would like to do many more of this. So if you guys out there would like to be a part of something like this, and just on a Thursday night, there's no council meeting. I don't want to preempt council meetings. So if there's no council meeting going on, no workshops, I would like to have things like this happening where we have community discussions. So instead of the keyboards, we can actually get together in an environment like this and just have an open conversation about any topic. And we can have a meeting of the minds and talk about issues that affect our community. And that is my idea behind it. And I hope you guys like that. And just send me an email, kevin@palmbay.com. I want to be involved. Just tell me I want to be involved, and that will happen. So that is where we go with that. So yeah, that is what where we at with the discussion. So let's keep the discussion going. and I see a lot of hello, Jeff, on the comment screen. Folks are, just say hi to them, Mr. Bailey, and so they can know that you acknowledge them. So let's keep the.
Well, hey, hi, Kevin. I want to say hi to you real quick too, Kevin, and Randy and Tom, two guys I know that they've been down the road of campaigning before, and one of them are going to end up on the dais with us at the end of the year, and I'm looking forward to having a new voice up there and seeing where we can kind of try to lead the city on a new direction together.
Okay, awesome. So since you're here, Mr. Bailey, I'm gonna put you on the spot because I keep seeing this comment. I guess somebody wants you to talk about taxes and the millage rate. So let's go. The floor is yours.
Well, yeah, and that's absolutely. I think we were discussing that a little bit earlier. That I'd definitely love to. There's been lots of big issues that we've handled this year. ILA, the garbage contract. We've had some ordinance issues, but the most recent is a workshop we had last night regarding the budget. That budget is going to. Hey, son, 1 second, bud. Sorry about that. That budget workshop was the mid-year review for this current fiscal year, and also a preview of where the council want to take us for next year, and that was a big one for me. My highlights from it was that I like us to go to the rollback. I see that we've increased the garbage fee. We've increased a lot of fees over the last year. There's been just in the last, I think, 3 years, there's been like a 33% increase in the property tax portion of our budget. So I think it's a perfect time to kind of try to go back to where it's more revenue neutral. Rollback rate, for those folks who might not be aware, is essentially that rate where we collect the same amount, not including new construction. That's above and beyond the rollback would be new construction, which has been pretty healthy this year. I think, if I recall correctly, that was about 3% last year. So my starting point was the rollback. I don't know what exactly the consensus was from council last night. I believe one other member also mentioned it. I think there's also concerns to make sure we fund the most important things. And one thing I want to talk about is something I've been trying to make sure I get across to as many people as possible. Whenever I say we start at the rollback, I think the way that the whole council should be thinking about our budgets, first of all, putting all the priorities in there first. So we need to think about what are the most important things to all of us. And of course, the one thing that I think has been majorly lacking, why I ran in 14 was road maintenance funding. Now we've made some progress on it. And I think the council is certainly there, especially with the scrutiny coming on the road bond, that we have to maintain it. Everybody understands that's, it's common sense. And one of the big things that we got last night is we're going to try to make sure that we establish what that plan should look like. I've been talking to staff about that for years. And last night we got clear direction, I believe. Well, there definitely was clear direction last night, finally, from council to say, show us a schedule of plans. What should be in year 1, year 2, or the next fiscal year and the year after that? Give us a few years outlook. What do we need to have? Because that should be the bare minimum of what we should fund, and we should try to go above that. And so we put those priorities in there first. And once we fund those, that means some things are going to have to come out. I understand that. Some things are going to have to come out of the budget. And that's where we task the city manager and department heads to figure out what would they take out. Then after that happens, we can look at those things. And that's when we can start discussing, what should we do as far as we have a healthy fund balance. And real quick, I want to give a big plug for our city manager. I've certainly had a lot of things that I haven't agreed that management has brought forth as far as negotiations and contracts. But I will say this. In the last 2 years, she has worked with her staff to try to present budgets that are based on the 3% cap that voters passed in 2016. That 3% cap means that, again, much like the rollback, if you exclude all new construction, that you're trying to only gain 3% more revenue. And if you go beyond that, the charter says now that you have to have 4 votes. You have to have a supermajority. And so for me, you start at the rollback, you take out those things, and road maintenance needs to be up front. I know that one of our council members is pushing for a resolution to use our fund balance or using some of the monies that are left over at the end of the year to set aside some of that to go towards road maintenance, which I appreciate. I think that should be an ancillary enhancement to the budget, but we have to put that budget in there up front at the beginning of the budget year. And then if we have something left over at the end of the year that we can add to it, then great. That way we can make sure we have it.
We have another question on the screen. I know you want to dive into, but we're going to try to get as much questions in.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So, can you raise my taxes and improve the quality of turf grass conditions on schools and parks in the city of Palm Bay? The Aqua Street by New Heritage Parkway needs repaving as well.
Well, I think anybody that's followed me knows my answer is no. That would not be my priority. I think that there's other public safety and infrastructure have always been the top two priorities. Those are the basic functions. We also have parks and rec and some other quality of life issues. Utilities is obviously an important part of the infrastructure, which is a separate fund. But I think those are things you look into adding after you look at rollback, after you have those most important public safety and infrastructure things in there. Then you start saying, well, what else can we add in there? And council should consider adding in within the 3% cap. And then once we get to the 3% cap, that's
Jeff, you're not on the dais. Let other people talk some.
Yeah.
I just finished up this thought.
Yeah.
Really trying to make sure that I get these points across, because sometimes on the dais, everybody has different, trying to communicate different ideas, and sometimes it's hard to, you're trying to collaborate at the same time as get your ideas across. But once you get to the 3% cap, that's when you look and see what's left over, and then you ask yourself, is that a critical need or emergency spending? If it's not a critical need or emergency spending, then it just doesn't get in the budget that year, and that's how we have to live, because things are tight right now. And I'll let the other guys speak too.
Right. Yeah. Also, can you fix your mic for me, because some folks are saying that they're having problems hearing you. So I don't know if it's possible to pull the mic.
I can bring it in a little tighter.
Yeah.
See if that's better.
Yeah, I can try to scoot forward some. Is this any better? I don't know if you can see on your end.
No, I
think he was talking to me.
No, I was talking to Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, folks were saying that they can't hear him. So yeah. So Thomas or Randy, you want to opine on that question?
Well, I was going to go back to the original question and just talk about the Parkway. The Parkway was scheduled for rejuvenation, or resurfacing is another word. And that was actually supposed to happen within the next couple months. And then the county decided they were going to replace the bridge immediately east of the entrance to Fred Poppy or Regional Park, and close Malabar Road from July 8th till September 8th. Well, that was right in the window when our Public Utilities Department had scheduled to do the rejuvenation on the Parkway. So sometime after September, that Parkway will get a resurfacing.
Okay.
I just want to say something that Jeff hit on. I don't always agree with Jeff Bailey, but I agree with him on his point. Your critical needs and emergency funding. I agree with him on that. That should be our priority when we look at budget. I dealt with $1 million budgets in the federal government. So, and going forward, we heading towards a recession with this COVID-19. So we need to be very conservative on how we spend our money. And I'm all for not going over that cap. The voters voted for that. We should stay within that cap.
I voted for that cap.
And I voted for it too. We don't need to go over that cap. We need to stay within our budget. So our priorities is very important. We need to get what we need, not what we want, going forward. But the roads are important. We cannot, after a bond to fix all the roads in Palm Bay. The voters voted for that, but we don't need to go back and have these roads not maintained. So yes, Mr. Bailey, we need to have a road fund, and we need to fund it every year. I was at this workshop, and I was agreeing with that. But we also need a police department. We need a fire department. That's very critical. We live in Florida, and we have hurricanes.
Our city charter makes it very easy to prioritize the budget. The city charter says there will be a police department, there will be a fire department, and the city's responsible for infrastructure. Those are the first three things that should go into the budget. Those are the only three things that are really defined as being budgetary items that are in the city charter.
Yeah, but the city could do more than that.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying those are the minimums. Those are the requirements, and those should be the first things that are budgeted and paid the most attention to at budget time.
Okay, I see a comment here, and I want to bring it on the screen because I've heard this comment a lot. Let's see, where is it at? Ms. Burns says something here. Find grants for vehicles, and I see that comment a lot in social media circles. What do you think about that idea? Anybody want to answer that?
Well, there are grants for vehicles. There are police grants out there, but some of the grants, am I right, Mr. Bailey? You got to match.
Yeah, there's a lot of matching grants. We have somebody working in fire department who's important on this. This is something I pushed really hard with last administration. I think that our current one is striving towards is to have professionals that's their job, is knowing how to find and write these grants. We have one in fire department right now. And she does help other departments in their grant writing, and she's been very successful in getting those type of grants for fire and other departments. So we're working on that, and I believe there have been some grants. Forgive me for not knowing off the top of my head, but I believe we have had some grant money that we use for some police vehicles.
Okay, all right. Let's see what other
comments. Kevin, real quick, the last gentleman, and I just lost his name because his comment left. I did read the end of his comment while the other guys, the other gentlemen were talking here. He asked about, he made a comment about Babcock. Keep in mind that at this point in time, that is county road, and it does need redone. Unfortunately, money was moved south outside of where Palm Bay city line is, where really nobody's driving other than dump trucks. Down at the county line down there. But the county has pretty much put that issue onto the city in the future. We're hoping that the county will come in there and redo it before the city takes over the road, but there's no guarantees on it. But at this point in time, it is county road. And I agree, we need to, that's why I've said they need to start from Malabar and head south. Instead, they started at the very south tip of it and came up to Micco Road, which is not really very traveled.
Okay. All right. We're gonna be hopping around. I know this is not in our realm. Actually, hold on. I have another comment that's coming in. Mr. Filberto is a candidate for city council. He says city manager advised she's looking at grants for police body cams as well. Most recently, the city received a grant for the police department to add a new roof and hurricane shutters. So, anybody want to opine on that? Mr. Bailey, probably. Do you know of any of what's going on there?
I know in my conversations with the police chief, he told me that the time has come, we need body cams. And that, that was a conversation between me and the police chief. And I agree with him. There's a place for them, but you have to remember that that's one view of a very dynamic and very fast-moving situation.
Well, I got a lot of experience with body cams.
Of course.
That's my forte, what I do in my business. And in my view, this is my view, body cams can protect an officer, and it can be transparent what happened at that scene, and it's seen from an officer view. And the way that body cams work, each officer has to download their body cam. If they have a significant incident that happened while they was on duty, the body cams only come on when they interact with the public. And if they have an incident that needs a supervisor attention, the supervisor could review that. These are body cam policy. I've been to the company who makes the body cam, throughout the world. So we do need a body cam here on our police department. We got a good police department, and this could protect the officers and also protect the city from lawsuits. So I'm all for body cams. I did speak with the city manager at that workshop, and she said they're looking to get grants for body cam. You don't need a body cam for every officer. Only people that wear body cams are
Interact.
patrol officers, and they could interchange who wears that cam by each shift. A body cam is not kept with that officer throughout his career. Okay, so you can swap out. Is the downloading when they come in from patrol to the database, and they can review that any significance. But the video is property that belongs to the city. It's not. It's subject to public record, so it's not the police department. It could be evidence of a crime. It could be evidence of a use of force issue, but it's the property of the city. It's not property of the police department.
And it falls under 119.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's another comment. The CBAB provides numerous grants for vehicles. Fire has gotten over $1 million in grants from the Community Development Advisory Board in the last 2 years. Mr. Allen is a candidate for mayor. Anybody want to opine on that? And let's see. We have a question coming in. How is the city using CARES Act money?
I don't believe the city has got any CARES Act money. Is that correct, Jeff? I know the county got like $140 million.
I apologize. It's coming in through choppy on my end.
Oh.
The volume. I didn't quite hear the question.
It says, how's the city using CARES Act money?
I can't hear.
Oh, can't hear? All right. Unfortunately. Okay. Can you see it on the screen?
It's too choppy for me.
Okay. All right. All right. It says, how is the city using CARES Act money? So I think Mr. Thomas opined to that. I don't know if you want to try probably logging back in, Jeff, because maybe that will clear it up. If you can hear me.
Hey, Kevin, if you can hear me, I'm going to try to exit and call back in and see if I can get a better connection. Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what I was saying. Yes, sir. All right.
I don't know if they got CARES Act money. I know the county got some money for people who have problems paying their rent, and I believe they sent it out.
I know I asked this question to Mr. Anderson at one time about what we're going to do about helping out individuals who are having problems paying their rent, and I think he did tell me something was in the works, but I could be wrong. So Mr. Anderson,
I think he was referring to the county set aside $4.4 million. Am I correct, Tom?
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yes, for rent relief and utilities. Right.
So, and you could apply for it through the county website, Brevard County website. So, if you're having problems paying your mortgage or your rent and you're in financial distress, please apply.
Right. Yes, please. And, I try to keep up with what's going on with Brevard County, and I post things on the website, on the Facebook groups, as well with Palm Bay Live. I try my best to. I do have a daytime job, but if anybody want to chip in and help out and post stuff within the Palm Bay Live group or any of the Palm Bay groups per se, please share information. Let's help each other out in this regard. So I'm going to veer our subject for a second here. Let's see. Is there any more comments coming in? Any more questions? The comments are coming in fast and furious now. So let me opine something. Let me interject something here. I know there's individuals who are just joining the live, and you probably log it in, hoping to see Randy Fine on the program tonight. I did put out an announcement that Randy Fine withdrew his commitment. I put out an announcement earlier today, and I'm not going to go behind the reasons why, and I think everybody should see the reasons why or know the reasons why by now. I mean, it's not it's out there as I can say. So yeah, so basically it is what it is. And so what we have is a community discussion right now. So I invited Mr. Bailey in the program, Mr. Randy in the program, Mr. Thomas in the program to have a community discussion so we can have a community discussion on any given topic, because a lot of times we spend time behind the keyboards, just typing away and frustrated at the level of service that we may not be getting from the city. So I thought this would be a great idea to have this meeting of the minds where everybody can be able to come in and just have a random conversation about anything that's troubling you when it comes to your city or services or etc. And if you would like to be among a panel like this in the future, please reach out to me at kevin@palmbay.com. Kevin@palmbay.com, and say, Kevin, I want to be involved with this as well. Carmine, do me a favor, please. You had sent me some questions, and I'm not able to get to them. So if you could post them inside the in the comment area, that would be great. That way I can bring them on the screen and everybody can see the questions. So that would be Carmine, and I also saw some questions from Ron too as well. Please just copy paste them in the comment section so I can just bring them on the screen so everybody can see the questions. That'd be great, because for some reason I'm not able to toggle back and forth to them right now. Kev, please share why transparency, sir. Yeah, basically, I would love to go into detail, but I'm going to give you the gist. Situation happened last night, and and Randy's not here, is pretty much as a result of, it is why we're here today, is why we are having this type of meeting today. So yeah, so he chose not to show up, and it is what it is. I'm not going to go into any more details than that, and leave it like that. So that said, Mr. Bailey, I think Mr. Bailey is back. I lost Mr. Thomas' feed there for a second. Is he back? Yes, he is. Okay, there we go.
I'm just turning off my camera, so not a distraction.
Okay. All right. Let's see if it's better now, Mr. Bailey. Everything working okay now on your end?
I think it's working a little bit better. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I can. And even your audio is even much better. Okay, great. Awesome.
Okay, I changed devices.
We have a question here. The money that was targeted for the 4th of July celebration, what should be done with that money now moving forward?
I have an idea. Well, last year, the Veterans Day Parade, the first Veterans Day Parade that the Deputy Mayor Johnson brought forward to the council, was rained out and simply didn't happen. I'd like to see that 4th of July funds go back to the Veterans Day Parade and a celebration of America, and have the parade, fireworks, and everything all condensed into one day, centered around Veterans Day.
Okay, Mr. Bailey.
So just so you guys know, and I believe that I'd have to confirm this with Lisa, but I generally like to confirm questions before I answer them. But my understanding is that this right here is something that we've contracted to use, and what's happened in years past is we use it in future events. So using it on something like a Veterans Day or either sometime before July 3rd next year at a city event is how it would be used. It's not necessarily a savings, like there's money sitting around to be used in that way. And keep in mind, normally there's a bunch of vendors and so forth that are also producing revenue on a 4th of July that are paying for the band, paying for some of that type of stuff. So it's not really like a windfall for us.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, so the city events are I'm just asking a general question because I always hear people say sponsored. The 4th of July event is not sponsored?
Well, people pay for their booths and so forth. So I believe that we've referred to it as a sponsorship packet. I don't know if that's technically what's used, but essentially, yes.
Okay. All right. Let me see if there's any more questions on the thread. Let's see. This one says, what would you done different with a trash contract? So I guess somebody's opining on the recent garbage contract that we did with Republic. Is there any difference that you would have done?
I followed the whole process from RFP through the bidding process until it was approved by council. I think the $23.50 was a bit of a shock. We were coming off of a long contract. Everybody knew there was going to be an increase, but I don't think anybody expected it to be as much as it was. I would have liked a lot of the problems we had with the previous vendor had nothing to do with the garbage pickup itself. It had more to do with bulk pickup, yard waste, and those things. So what I would have liked to seen is the shift to 1 day a week with the new carrier with the 96-gallon containers, and see if all those other problems just kind of fixed themselves. And if they didn't, we could have went back to the vendor at that point and negotiated for a second 2 day a week pickup. Because what's the vendor going to say? I don't want your money. They're in it to make money. So it could have been, there was an alternative there that wasn't explored, is where I'll leave it.
We could have, I kind of in agreement with that. We could have kept waste management and negotiated a better contract and satisfy the residents' need. But I'm not on city council. City council made a decision, and that's where we are. So I defer to Jeff on that. I don't think Jeff was happy with that contract. Am I right?
Yeah, that's correct, Randy. And now, unfortunately, I think that some of the targets staff ended up being satisfied with. They looked at other GDC communities. You know, one thing I asked for, I tried to table the vote on the contract, and that's because I wanted for staff to go back and negotiate the once a week price, something that I voted for in April that I thought we should have done from the get-go, given the proposals, because we have to live with the proposals we received, and I thought that was going to be the best path. But you know, one of the comparisons that one of the cities we were compared to was Port St. Lucie. They have twice a week pickup. Their rate is actually 1 cent less than ours. At least that's what we were shown based on staff review.
See what happens when you rely on staff for everything?
That's just me and you. Well,
can you hear me? Sorry,
yeah,
I guess the internet interrupted.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is that we were comparing ourselves to Port St. Lucie, who had also $20-some for twice a week. They're 1 cent off of where we ended up after some negotiations. And the bottom line, though, is what I found out, because I kept researching it, and that's why I wanted another week. I've been digging in that contract ever since that Friday, and because I knew it was a short weekend. We had a Memorial weekend. So just putting as much time into it and spending time with staff talking about the details. But what I found out the next day is I talked to somebody who's actually involved in the negotiation at Port St. Lucie's, which was done, I think, last year. They don't pay that rate. They pay it's $15, less than $16. So I think it's $15.79 or somewhere around there. And their additional charge is actually what we pay separately on our tax bill to the county. So that's why they had additional $7 on there, is because they do it by assessment. So the $23.49 is everything. But I think staff didn't realize those details. I think that they kind of, in my opinion, things got complacent. But I don't think it was just on staff. I think our council felt that twice a week was what was necessary, and I think that they felt that these were the best proposals. We did go through a competitive process. We know it had some scrutiny. We know that Mr. Gom, and we also had Mr. Vitale, and I think some others who are watching it at all the meetings and recording them and broadcasting for the public to see, even though we had the COVID stuff that's still open to the public. And it was a competitive process. It's just unfortunate these were such high rates. But I know that if we would have went back and negotiated once a week, because quite frankly, the reason we went from $29 to $23.50 was there was three big reasons why the rate changed that much. One was $29 would be us paying them to do our billing for us. If we did that, it costs more than what we are currently paying our staff to do the billing, is what we found. There's about 280,000 compared to us spending about 125 a year. So it just didn't make sense. That was about another 1.5 million on the contract over 10 years. So that got removed. That reduced the rate some. The second thing was a franchise fee. There's not currently a franchise fee on the residential customer. It was being added. That was a 10% tax, essentially, which would have went to our general fund. I'm sure that management would like to have seen it. I'm sure, quite frankly, a future council, if they didn't have to vote for it, they'd love to have that extra revenue. But I didn't think it was a right thing to do. It was a backdoor tax, and we removed that. That was one of the biggest reasons why it fell. And then the third thing that caused it to fall was that there was a much more of an increase on the residential as opposed to the commercial side. So they evened it out. So a lot of that wasn't even really much of a negotiation. It was mostly revenue neutral for the company. The company didn't really lose out on any of that. There were some discussions that I was trying to get out of staff what was really negotiated. I mean, certainly there's some legal language that was done by legal department, which didn't affect the rate. Making sure that make sure we had strong. And the one thing that I learned in this process is that you can't have penalties in these type of contracts. You can have liquidated damages, but those have to be for actual damages. They can't be a penalty. If they were so high that the vendor could argue that they are a penalty, it could actually be overruled in court if we try to enforce it. So make sure we had strong enough liquidated damages, but not so strong that it was not going to be legally sustainable. So there were some things that they did. But no, in the end, if they went back and used the same three strategies to look at the once a week rate, we would have been looking around $15. And there were some other things that I wanted them to talk about. They have a lot more assets to deploy compared to what we're using waste management. I think we needed more assets, more trucks, in other words, and personnel driving them, but not to the degree that we're receiving it. So that's my number one priority moving forward. Look, if you're paying for it, I want to see those trucks. I want to know what those trucks numbers are. And probably next summer, people can do it throughout the year. Let's make sure that they're actually picking up the route and using them, because we should have great service at this price.
Yeah. One of the things I remember happening during the one of the big hurricanes we had was that the gated communities, we had a hurricane and the trucks wouldn't come in and pick up the debris. Was that ironed out in this contract? Do you know?
No, that's not
totally
not
separate.
something that's going to be done in a typical franchise agreement. It's always going to be a separate agreement. It's always been that way with waste management, hair sanitation, and all other communities do it the same. You have to bring in a third-party contractor for that. But what has been ironed out is that previous administration said there is no way of going into these communities because they have private roads. But yet these places are paying just as much taxes as everybody else. Yes, they have a private road that they also pay more money to pay for. It didn't make sense why we weren't providing the same type of services. What I found out is from some community members who got in contact with friends in Melbourne. There is a process. It's not reimbursed quite the same by FEMA, but it's pretty darn close. And I've given that information over. No, that was thankful to Carmen Vitale and one of his friends. I've given that information to staff. So if we are hit like that again, when we have the next hurricane, they're aware that yes, we can go in there and provide them the same service that we provide everybody else.
Okay.
It just takes a little bit more paperwork.
All right, let's keep it moving because we're running over time, and I know there's a lot of questions down here. I'll need to go to Mr. Mr. Lockwood. You have a big question here. Let's see if we can pop it up on the screen. How do we bring business to the city without use tax incentives? Are you in favor of a road maintenance fund? If so, what are your thoughts on amounts, and would this be a standalone fund? Dipping into it for other purposes, can we reassure citizens that corruption will be eliminated? There's a bunch of different questions here. Let's take them in phases. So can you see the questions, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just squinting to see it better. That's all. I hear you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you can see them, let's try to take them bit by bit, and let's try to not over exaggerate on the answers because we're running out of time. So let's try to give short snippets of what's going on here with each question.
For bringing business to the city, businesses will come to the city when we reach a critical mass and there's enough density to warrant them moving here. It's an organic thing. It's not, you can't buy your way to prosperity.
Okay.
Especially using taxpayer money.
All right. Randy, what's your take?
Well, Palm Bay is competing against every city in Brevard County in the state of Florida. So you have to use your resources to attract. So we could attract business here. We got the population, we got the residents. We just got to go out there and show them what's best for Palm Bay. We got to show them why they need to come here. And you should use all the tools in the toolbox. You shouldn't eliminate anything. So I can't tell you a tax incentive will attract somebody. They might not want a tax incentive. They might want something else, or they might not want anything. But first, you got to reach out to businesses, and and if you're not open, you don't. Andy Anderson was our economic advisor. Okay, so you need somebody in there that know how to talk the business language and know how to use all the tools in the toolbox. You got the EDC, you got a lot of other agencies that you could reach out to attract business here. I think we are right to have major corporations here and other business. But one thing we cannot forget about is the small business owners. We gotta take care of our small business owners. And one thing that we got D.R. Horton building houses all over Palm Bay, but it takes 2 to 3 months to get a permit. That's killing our revenues stream. If I'm a builder and I want to build a house here and I got to wait 2 to 3 months to get a permit approved or to put a roof to get a permit approved, we gotta fix this. This thing's been going on for years. We gotta improve our permitting process, and we gotta stay
just a different example of that. Just a different example of that. If you're a business and you want to come to Palm Bay and start your business, you rent a place, you do the build out, you buy your inventory, but you may not be able to open your door for 3 to 4 months. So that entire time, all you have is expense and you have no income. So most of our businesses that do choose to come Palm Bay are climbing a really steep hill simply because of that fact is for 3 to 4 months, all they have is expense with no income, and they're broke before they can even open their doors.
Okay. All right. Jeff, really quick.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you quickly, 95% of the time, the tax incentives aren't why they're coming. They're coming anyways. They're just taking advantage of the sweetener on top. If they can get free money, they'll take free money. If we're going to use it, though, it was voted in by the taxpayers as a tool. If the tool is going to be used, it should be exclusively used for above average jobs. It should not be used for low wage jobs. We're not looking for more, gas station type jobs, Dollar General type jobs, and it should not be used for apartments. But besides that, just piggybacking what they're saying, my philosophy is you get rid of any unnecessary regulations. You make sure that all of our permitting processes are done quickly and fairly and consistently, so that everybody can predict what they need to do as far as maintaining the revenue streams. That is going to help residents along with small business and large businesses alike. Everybody should be treated the same in that way. That's been my goal. And by the way, we just got a brand new building inspector. Building official. And I'm trying to get all of our building inspectors and our plans reviewers in-house so that he can, and he seems like he's very pro-business. I've liked what he said so far, but it's going to take time to see. But we're trying to get everybody in-house so we can all get on board with that, because it's going to take time to change that feeling about Palm Bay and doing business here. But that's what we're working on and trying to roll back some of those regs.
Look, let's take the second question real fast, guys. 2 minutes or less. Let's try to answer these because time is going. Are you in favor for road maintenance fund? And if so, what are your thoughts on amounts, and would this be standalone fund? And I think we answered this question earlier, but let's quickly try to recap.
Yes, I'm in favor for a road maintenance fund, and it should be $2 to $3 million a year constantly going in that fund.
Okay, Thomas.
Well, think it should be more than that this year. This year, I think we should target like $4 million, and we should look to increase that to the neighborhood of $7 million within the next before our road maintenance or before our road bound program expires. The roads that have been done already, the clock's already ticking on those. 2 to 3 years from now, they're going to need rejuvenation. That's what you do for maintenance, is that rejuvenation. Right now, there's $3.1 million in the current road maintenance fund. You add on top of that, I think you can go into some of the neighborhoods that we're targeting to use for road bond money that we would be paying interest on, and use some of that road maintenance money to do that, and not pay interest on it. It's money we've already paid into the city. It's money we've already paid in our taxes. So instead of dipping into our pockets more in the future to pay the interest on that road bond, any monies is available in the road maintenance fund and could be properly pointed in the direction of road maintenance should be done at this time.
Okay, Mr. Bailey, I know you have a long win on this one, so go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll try to be quick. I know Mr. Lockwood, he served on the ad hoc road advisory board before I was on council with me. We did have, there's still a separate line still appearing on the tax bill. I'm not sure why, but there were legal issues with actually funding that. So it's always going to be in the general fund and will always be susceptible to future councils changing their mind on that and moving that money to somewhere else in the general fund. Having it as like an enterprise fund hasn't been something that that we were able to set up. But as far as protecting it, no, as long as I'm there, yeah, absolutely. I think we should have that fund and we should protect it. It shouldn't be rated. It should be when the first thing's in, not when the first thing's out.
Yeah, me and you have had that conversation many times, including today. So can we assure our citizens that corruption will be eliminated? What are your thoughts on that? Well, let's start with Mr. Bailey, since he's currently sitting on the dais.
Well, you know, my feelings after living these last 5 years or so, and what I've had experience, what my family's had experience with things, quite frankly, I'm jaded, and I'd say no. Everybody's gonna have to stay vigilant and keep watching. But I'm very hopeful we're gonna have 3 new council members, and I'm hoping that it's going to bring a different air to the board. I'm looking forward to that. But there's always gonna be differences. There's always gonna be loose accusations as well. There's gonna be legitimate things, and it's just, no. Can we ever be assured? No. Quite frankly, with our society, it's not assurable. But I do hope that we are able to move, at least for a period of time, with the added scrutiny, into a better direction.
Okay. Rotating to the left, Mr. Thomas.
Well, I've spent about 4 years just concentrating on that one issue. Well, not just me. It takes a team. But I think we're headed in the right direction. Everything from the city manager through almost all the department heads have been replaced in the last 2 years since Ms. Morrell take over. I believe there's only one department head that still exists from the prior administration. But like I said, it takes a team, just like when we did the petition for the assessments and when we did the road bond. I mean, everybody came together to get those things done. And it seems like no matter what we do as citizens, it takes a team to do it. So the team needs to stay active and stay vigilant and make sure that we don't end up in the same boat we were 2.5 years ago.
Well, let me add something real quick, because I actually fought corruption, and I know how to do it. You got to first, starting off, you need a financial audit. Day one, you need a new council, and you need a financial audit done. You need to look at the JLAC report and make sure we're following the policies and procedure. And we need policies and procedure done for not only city council members, but government workers. We got to get the right policy and procedure there. Yeah, the state have a ethics standards, but the city needs to also have something too in place. And if you're informant for the FBI and FDLE, you shouldn't be sitting on the city council. Okay, and I'm not taking those shots at anybody, but that's my opinion from a law enforcement retired officer, because you can't not do the job and serve the city. Okay, so That's my take on it. And policies and procedure, a financial audit immediately. And if anybody took money, we need to get that money back.
Yeah. All right. What steps would you take to assure us of this? Well, I think we touched on that, right? What is your number one goal to accomplish if elected? Well, I really didn't want to dive into election type questions because we were just having a conversation. So we're not going to touch on that tonight. We will answer that in the fall. What would you like to see an entertainment venue here in Palm Bay? That we can answer. And I can follow up that question with a question? Mr. Bailey, since you're currently sitting on the dais, my biggest pet peeve right now is that I have to travel to Melbourne, West Melbourne, in order to have a nice dinner or have some fun with my family. Or downtown Melbourne. When is a downtown Palm Bay coming to Palm Bay? When are we going to see that, if ever? You think that's going to be on the realms of possibilities in the future? I can't hear you, Mr. Bailey. Your audio is out.
Sorry, there you go. I was trying to limit the feed because it was getting choppy. Listening to Mr. Foster there, I couldn't hear everything. But okay, so on this issue, I think sometimes folks put too much faith in what they think council can do as far as making these things happen. To me, you get government out of the way, you have streamlined processes as far as permitting and so forth. But the bottom line is it wasn't planned originally, and that's an issue. But if you look, comparing Palm Bay to Melbourne, Melbourne has a major state road leading towards Orlando. They have 2 causeways going beachside. They have Palm Bay's population to the south as a bedroom community, and they have also, of course, they're surrounded by potential buyers. I think Palm Bay, what it's going to take is somewhere like down where Emerald Lakes is, deciding they're going to build things of that nature eventually. And what it's going to take something like that in a raw place. And then the other thing is that you got to keep in mind that we are landlocked. We have St. John's to our west. We don't have a road leading out of that. We don't have a causeway, and I don't think anybody beachside is going to ever allow that to happen anytime soon in my lifetime. So we're landlocked that way. We have a lot of protected land to our south. So what we have to do is build up the proximity and density in South Palm Bay. And infill is working there. We have some new development down there. But right now, a lot of people are North Palm Bay. Now, if you're north of Malabar Road, let's say, you're somewhere in the northwest section, or if you're in the Lockmar area, or if you're up in the Riviera, Port Malabar area, you're within a short distance of downtown Melbourne, hammock landings, and other shopping. And so that's what makes it difficult to compete there and try to move that. But we've got to move the population further south into the core of Palm Bay, and that's what I think is going to drive that type of venue development.
Okay. I like I said, that's my biggest pet peeve right now. I'm looking forward to the day that I can actually leave my house and say I'm going to stay in Palm Bay and eat at a nice restaurant in Palm Bay, which I'm not saying there's not nice restaurants in Palm Bay. I'm looking for a downtown a venue, and on a Friday afternoon or Friday evening after work, I can just go out with my family and sit down, look at the ocean, or wherever you guys decided to build that. I mean, it's not up to you. I guess we need the buy-in from other commercial investors too as well.
Kevin?
Yes, sir.
I'll just touch on that a minute.
Yeah.
One of the big things that's going to help us is we've always said we need a main street. Is when we open the South Interchange, we've connected both of our interchanges that are within the city. Because if you count the Palm Bay Road interchange, we really don't get a lot of economic impact off of that other than Bass Pro and the things on our side of the road, but the majority of things are on the West Melbourne side of the road. So a lot of that revenue goes there. But when you open up the South Interchange, you've really created a main street on the south end of Babcock Street, which is one of the reasons so it really needs to be fixed. But we also need, at the same time, our comp plan is about 13 or 14 years old. So we'll need some community visioning, and we'll need to make our comp plan show that we're ready and open for business and along that Babcock Street corridor.
Okay. Let's weigh in on the pool. Should Palm Bay sell the pool after he has been fixed? Good question. Who wants to weigh in?
I would love to
No,
do it.
you-
Problem is, you got
I don't-
4 different stakeholders.
4 different stakeholders.
Oh, go ahead, Randy.
I'm sorry, I'm not for selling the pool. I'm really not. We're spending a lot of money to get that thing fixed. Spending a lot of money to get it fixed, and I don't think we could get a return on our investment for it. But we should keep that pool, and a lot of people use it and don't have access to a pool. I like to see a water park actually in Palm Bay, a private company come and build a nice water park and attract people here, other than just going to the beach. So until we have something like that, I would keep the pool.
I would agree. I'd keep the pool, but my major reason for wanting to keep the pool is public safety. It's going to cost us $700,000 to fix that pool. To me, if we can teach a kid to swim and it saves one life, that's $700,000 well spent.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add. I just want to let everybody know my son learned to swim there. I certainly use it, but if we gave it back to the county or state, Eastern Florida State, it's never going to go to private hands. It could be privately ran. We could contract somebody to privately run it and hopefully try to keep it better financially flowed, but it would never be outside of public use. Even when it was county owned and we didn't own it, I still used it, and Palm Bay Public still used it.
I've done some research into public pools like that, and they don't make a profit. They're an amenity. They cost money. There's not a public pool anywhere that I was able to find that is a profit center. They are a liability.
Okay.
I just want to be revenue neutral personally, but yeah.
All right. Somebody commented, definitely need a driving theater or outdoor theater. Okay. Is there somebody in the city? I mean, we know we had Andy Anderson. I don't know if we have somebody of that caliber that replace him, that goes out and try to attract new business to Palm Bay. Can you talk about that, Jeff?
Well, the person who has replaced him is Joan Ucala Brown, I believe is her married name now. And so she's had real estate experience. She's also worked in economic development. I believe it was Cocoa or Cocoa Beach. Forgive me, it's somewhere in the north end of the county. So she does have some experience. She's definitely very much a go-getter. And so she's out there trying to make sure that we have good information and providing really more of a liaison role. I've talked to, I apologize, I think you might hear my daughter out there singing to me. She's probably ready for me. But having a position where we had something more of a lines of a commission based, that's what been my vision. But we kind of had that type of thing happen with actually one of our state attorneys dealing with our risk management fund. But there's some legal issues because of being a public position of how there's a lot of legal technicalities where it makes it almost undoable. But that would be my version. Have like a traveling salesman, and whenever they bring something here, that they'd have a commission on it. Unfortunately, I just don't think that's something that's legally feasible.
Okay. Are we still paying for this is on a different subject, for outside advertising? I know sometimes when I used to drive to places like Ocala where some of my family is at and those places, and I'm coming back and I would see big old advertisements for Palm Bay on billboards. Are we still doing that? Is that still happening?
That's TDC money. That's TDC money that has to be directed at each municipality, spent by the TDC, raised from the half-cent bed or the bed taxes of the hotels.
Yeah. TDC was, so the way the TDC ran it was like a grant. So municipalities in the county, it was a matching grant. So like what Mr. Foster was talking about earlier, it's another matching grant situation. So we were paying, I think it was $25,000 a year to participate in that program, which I was completely against. I spoke out against it several years ago. I think that we've ended that on our end. I'd have to double check where that line item is right now. But I certainly never supported, because if you read them, you don't even know where they're going. And some saw them in places like South Carolina, North Carolina, and it showed, certain amenities that didn't really match up with us. Cocoa Beach, I get it. I understand why they would want to participate in that type of thing. I didn't agree with. I thought it was money wasted. The argument for it was it had a lot of impressions, the cost per impressions, and the fact that we were getting it matched by the TDC subsidized. That wow, it's the cheapest way to get to the most amount of people, but it's not effective. I don't think that. And I don't think we ever got our $25,000 back on that, or however much we put in total.
Okay. All right. Is there any more questions from the audience? Stormwater fees. Let's chime in on that before we, and then I think we're going to end on that question. Who wants to start?
I'll start. When the original stormwater fee came onto the utility bill back in 2010, it was about $7 per month. And then in 2016, we moved to an assessment system and went to $177 a year, which was a significant jump. That's when we got the team together and did the petition and removed the language that gave the city council the power to assess. But now, as we fix these things, that stormwater maintenance portion needs to come out of the general fund. Maintenance is what we pay taxes for maintenance on infrastructure, our police, our fire, those type of things. So I understand from the conversation last night, it seems like the consensus is there's going to be some type of stormwater fee on a utility bill. My hope is that stormwater fee would only be reflective of about the $4 million we need for stormwater improvements ahead of the road program in the coming year. And that should be $4 or $5 per household.
Okay. Randy.
Well, I was totally against the stormwater fee that the council passed. I was there at the city council meeting, and you couldn't get inside the city council chamber. It was a line wrapped around the corner. And I know Mr. Bailey was one. I don't think you voted for that, Mr. Bailey. I know you didn't vote for that. It was just two to three vote. And I was totally against it. I don't think they should have done. They could have done it a better way, in a different way, but not tax the residents on that stormwater fee. Yes, our stormwater needs to be fixed. I get that. But we could have done it a better way. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, and as Mr. Grom and I had talked about this, I think yesterday, day before too, and that was part of my conversation with some staff and even legal before the meeting yesterday. Is that I guess my vision would be we're putting these much better systems, much improved from what was in there originally, with these concrete culverts as opposed to metal that deteriorates quicker. So my hopes would be if we can, I'd like to move it all over, but I know that moving $10 million into there on top of trying to make sure we have our road maintenance and other things I've asked for, I know that it's a tall order to go all at once. But that was my thought too. If we can move the maintenance portion back over there, that would help us be a step in the right direction, and then leave the fee for capital only. That's one of the things I was talking to them about, putting into our resolution that we tabled, and we'll be coming back here soon for the stormwaters, that maybe that rate portion could be capital only. And then once we've replaced them all, we should be good for the rest of my lifetime, till there's some major deterioration done, which is decades down the road. So that would be my hope. That'd be kind of the way of getting us off there. We have to have the money, because the thing that's slowing us down, I think if you guys watched the meeting from the other night too, Mr. Gom's on the infrastructure advisory board, the thing that's slowing us down the most at roads is keeping up with the pipe work. And so we have to have the money and get those pipes going so we make sure we complete the bond program, because we're in the middle of it. We've got to finish it.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Great answers, guys. This has been fun. And like you said, to the viewing audience and those who may be watching this tomorrow or over the weekend, this is something like I want to continue. I would like to have individual citizens who have, a gift of a job and want to talk about issues that's affecting our city to come on the program and let's have a roundtable discussion on different issues. So we can just get from behind the keyboards and just, let it all out in public, so everybody. And we will have folks like Mr. Bailey who on to kind of help balance the conversation and and that kind of thing. So that's what I'm looking for going forward, and I would love your participation in it. So please reach out to me. Send me an email, kevin@palmbaylive.com, kevin@palmbaylive.com, and in few comments. Very productive convo tonight and all that good stuff. And Mr. Kid went sideways here on me. Yeah. So and please, yeah, I would love the buy-in of the public on this, and so that way we can have a meeting of the minds. The next program that I will have coming up next week, I will have a week off. It's a 4th of July week, and I'm not doing any shows that week. So the following week, the 7th, I will have the first mayor candidate on this program, Alfred Agari. He will be on the program. I will follow that up with Mr. Allen, and I also have some judicial candidates lined up to appear in the program too as well. So that is all in the work. So judicial candidates, mayoral candidates, July is going to be a pack month. So get ready for that. And so that way you guys, I want you guys to, come on in, and then we have, if you notice, we don't have Mr. Foster and Mr. Guam interviewing right now because they pretty much are not going to be on the ballot until November. So that's why I chose not to bring them on initially for their election interview. So that's going to be November, close to November as possible. So yeah, so that's where we're at. And I see the comments, and I see the appreciation of love, and I really like it. And like I said, again, for those who are just joining us, I did get a lot of messages throughout the day today of support, of moral support, of and good sentiments. I appreciate them. My wife appreciate them. My son appreciate them, because last night what happened shouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to go into details. The situation just got timid, and it ruffled my feathers a whole lot. And you see what the outcome is today. So thank you. Yes, sir.
Just a reminder, Randy, will you be at the Bakaska event out at Fred Poppy Park on Sunday?
Yes.
Yes, I'll be there also. If you have any questions, if you're interested in our campaigns and our platforms, please come out to Fred Poppy Park on Sunday afternoon. We'll be set up out there and look forward to speaking to as many people as want to talk. I'll stay out there till they're gone.
Awesome. So that's so yeah, the events are coming up. So just check your calendar. So yeah, folks, thank you so much. I mean, Mr. Bailey, thank you for chipping in at the last moment. We were having a discussion. I was like, hey, come on the show. So, and he chipped in and said, yeah, I'll come. And so I thank you for appearing at the last moment. And trust me, I'm going to be bringing back Mr. Bailey a lot because he has good information, and he brings a lot of balance to the conversations that we have. And I like talking to him. So yeah, so that's where we at. And so yeah, folks, thank you. And it's a work night, and I know you have to go back to work tomorrow. And again, I'll see you on the 7th of July. That's going to be my first mayoral interview. Mr. Alfred Agari, if you have questions for that candidate, send them to me at kevin@gmail.com. Kevin@palmbaylive.com. I'm sorry. And and I will have those questions prepared to go. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.